Update here on our September sub battle with Boston Celtics today. We're both off to quite a slow start, only 12 subs each in the month of September. Hit that sub button because the season is just around the corner and we're going to have the best coverage. But also, I want to beat the Celtics on the YouTube streets heading into the season in October. All right, we're talking some Brandon Ingram trade rumors for the Miami Heat. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports because Bleacher Report actually labeled the Miami Heat as a Brandon Ingram trade destination. They named 4 teams that Ingram could land on if New Orleans ended up trading him, and Miami was the number 1 team they mentioned. Also mentioned was the Cleveland Cavaliers, Brooklyn Nets, and San Antonio Spurs. But I find it interesting that Ingram has been linked to Miami by Bleacher Report. We've talked about him before on the channel, but I've also been lukewarm on the idea of making that move, and I'm not so sure Pat Riley would be able to pull the trigger on a Brandon Ingram trade. But we're going to talk about if they should and what Bleacher Report had to say. Well, at first, they made the case for the post-Jimmy Butler era, because it is coming to a close for the Miami Heat. The 2024-25 campaign is the last on the current contract, and team president Pat Riley poured plenty of cold water on the idea of extending him after the 23-24 season wrapped. Because obviously, if you can remember, he called out Jimmy for not playing in enough regular season games, not giving full effort in those games, and Butler does have 1 guaranteed left on his contract. Next year is a player option. He could opt out of that. But there is a serious concern and at least curiosity from yours truly about what the Heat's plan post-Jimmy Butler is. Are they going to just sit and hope they get the development from Tyler Hero, Nikola Jovic, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Khalil Ware, and Bam Adebayo, and then try to strike on the next star to become available in free agency or on the trade market, Anthony Edwards? Or are they going to try to make a move to find the Jimmy Butler replacement before he ends up leaving the roster, like Brandon Ingram? Well, Bleacher Report had thoughts on the matter. Miami could reasonably talk itself into Jaime Jaquez Jr. and Tyler Hero, eventually replacing their current superstar, but adding Ingram could give those two a bit more runway. With his mid-range attack, decent playmaking, and theoretical ability to switch between multiple defense assignments, Ingram could be sort of a C+ or B- version of Jimmy Butler. And I do understand where BR is coming from. Brandon Ingram isn't going to be the same impact player on the defensive side that Jimmy Butler would be, but in the regular season, he'd probably give you the same offensive versatility and offensive output that Jimmy Butler currently gives you, because we know that Jimmy does not go full effort in the regular season. The postseason is where you would lose out on Jimmy Butler when he ultimately leaves and you replace him with Brandon Ingram, because J-Butt is just one of the best playoff risers and performers of the last 5 seasons, and Brandon Ingram's only played in 10 postseason games in his career. We're going to dive into some of those numbers coming up, but let me know. Be real with me. Would you trade for Brandon Ingram? Type T for trade or type P for pass. Don't have to worry about cost. Just in a vacuum, would you at least go after the former top 3 pick? The fit for Brandon Ingram in Miami is curious, because I say this: if they replace Jimmy Butler with Brandon Ingram offensively, I think it would work. But if it's B.I., Jimmy, and Bam, like for this season, I'm not so sure how they would work as a trio offensively, due to the fact that none of them are an elite 3-point shooter in terms of efficiency, but in terms of volume as well. Yeah, Jimmy shot 41% from beyond the arc last season, but he didn't take that many a game. Brandon Ingram's one of the best scorers in the NBA, averaging 21 a game, shooting pretty efficiently from the field because he's able to get to the rim, finish at the mid-range. 10 to 15 is his office, but the 3-point percentage is where it gets a little bit iffy, only shooting 35.5% last season, and he's really never been someone that is expected or does 40% 3-point shooting often. And you don't need your superstar to shoot 40% from 3 every single time. Listen, you look around the league, the best players don't always shoot that well from 3. But it is a little bit of a concern, especially when you get into the postseason and you need to hit some tough threes as a primary scorer. But we talked about how Brandon Ingram is one of the more prolific scorers in the NBA. This is his career shot chart. And one thing that you might notice is that there is a lot of blue everywhere, and most of it is at least mid to dark blue, which we've all often shown on the channel in saying this: dark blue good, light blue bad. You see a lot of his shots coming from the free throw line, the elbow, the rim. Well, that's where he excels because his tall, lengthy frame, where he's 6'10", he's got a crazy long wingspan, he's able to, very Kevin Durant-like, get to the mid-range off dribble isolation and just rise up over his defender, and that's why he likes to get to the mid-range, almost similar to what Kevin Durant likes to do. But his long arms and touch around the rim allows him to finish amongst the trees as well. There is no debating this. He can flat out score the basketball. Brandon Ingram is one of the better three-level guys. It's not going to be the prettiest from beyond the arc, but he certainly can get to his spots inside that three-point arc and be efficient inside. When you shoot 35.5% from three, but shoot 49% plus from the field, that just tells you how good he actually is from elbows in. That's his area to work in. One issue, though, that's where Jimmy and Bam like to work as well. So if the three of them were on the same team, I'm not so sure the offensive fluidity and motion would be at what we would want as Heat fans. But as a replacement to Jimmy Butler, like Brandon or Bleacher Report mentioned Brandon Ingram could be in the future, well, that's where this becomes a little bit more interesting. We'll continue the conversation here in just a second, but we are sponsored by PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America with more than 5 million active members every single day. It's the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. And unlike other apps, you don't play other people. All you do is play the numbers. And during the month of September, you can really take advantage with football season being here. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. You might have missed this past one, but there's still 3 weeks of free W's out there to go get. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. I went to the basketball world for a season-long projection. 3 entries to win 5 times my money, more than Bam Adebayo, 9.9 rebounds per game, more than Jalen Brunson, 6.8 assists per game, and then less than Zachary Rissachet, the #1 pick from France, 10.2 points per game for the Atlanta Hawks. Well, you could also play around PrizePicks celebrities. Drewski, Joe Budden, Sugar Sean O'Malley, MMA champion. You can find their plays under the community plays tab, which is the promos as well, in the app to view some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. So I am a little skeptical of potentially adding Brandon Ingram to this roster, but it's not only because of his fit, but it's because of his playoff woes, you can say, and sometimes just showing poor effort on the defensive end, and honestly the offensive end at sometimes. He doesn't look engaged at all points of the basketball game, and specifically with the postseason. It's like kind of night and day for Brandon Ingram. In 21-22, when they were the 8th seed, they played, I believe it was the Phoenix Suns. I might be mistaken on that, but either way, their first ever playoff series, Brandon Ingram kind of had a really good series. Like, he played 6 games. He averaged a full 27 points, 6.2 rebounds, 6.2 assists, and shot incredibly efficient from the field. But this past playoff performance, oh boy, it was not very good. You see the numbers. Poor efficiency, poor points per game. Sometimes he doesn't look engaged, and honestly, it looked like that in the postseason at times. But the part that really scares me in terms of how engaged he is with the game is, well, the fact that he's not the best defensive player. And he's got the size, he's got the length, the quickness laterally to be someone who can defend multiple positions. Not going to say he can guard all 4s in the NBA, but he can guard 2 through 4, in my opinion, as long as the 2 guard isn't like a Donovan Mitchell type who's twitchy and extremely fast. But the other issue with Brandon Ingram that I have, and it's not just his fit on the court. I think Eric Spoelstra might be able to figure that out. It's the long-term commitment to Brandon Ingram. He wants $50+ million per season on his next contract. That's why he might get traded by the New Orleans Pelicans. Ingram wants a new contract. He's entering his final year. He's getting paid $36 million this season. But he wants a 4-year, $200 million plus deal, and I don't believe that he is deserving of that. I think Ingram's a fine young player. But the issue is if you're paying someone $50+ million a season, you have to believe in your heart, without a doubt, they can be a top 2 player on a championship contending team. Because you're not paying a third option that much money. And to me, that's all Brandon Ingram is. I've said this on many different shows here under the Chat Sports umbrella and the Heat Report as well. I think Brandon Ingram is in that OG Anunoby, Chris Middleton tier. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's getting you paid $40 million per year. Or like OG Anunoby, $42.4 million per season. 4 years for $170 for Brandon Ingram, I'm in. 4 for $200 plus, I'm out. So for that reason, unless he takes his price down, I'm probably not trading for Brandon Ingram. But that brings up this question to you. You know how I feel. I don't think he should be paid $50+ million per season. But do you believe that? Type Y if you think he is worth that much money. Type N if you think he's not. And even if you took away the future money that you might have to give to Brandon Ingram, the money right now is actually very difficult to execute a trade with the New Orleans Pelicans. Due to both teams' cap situation being right up against the second apron, both teams can't really have a trade that one of them takes back more money than they're sending out. Also issue with that. As I looked very often, there isn't a lot of ways that Miami can match salary with New Orleans because you'd likely have to trade one of Tyler Hero, Rozier, or Duncan Robinson, and you actually have to trade 2 of the 3 because Hero makes 29, Rozier 24, Duncan 19. Ingram makes 36. You don't have another contract that you can trade right now in the offseason with around $6 million to get to the 36 mark. So you have to add Duncan and Hero to send out enough salary, but then the Pelicans have the issue. So it would have to be a 3-team deal, which makes this incredibly difficult to really get into motion. And we pretty much know that Miami is not going to end up making a trade before the season begins. I would be absolutely floored if they did. Maybe a Brandon Ingram trade could be revisited during the season if Miami is looking like they need one extra piece to make a run this year and they feel confident in what they have and just need that one more guy. Maybe, but I don't see it happening before the regular season. All right, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we are going to have you covered every single day with Miami Heat basketball news and rumors. We are a month away almost from the season beginning. Training camp begins October 1st. Preseason games are going to be underway in a month. Make sure you hit that sub button because we're going to have you covered.